Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting season of Horror Film Lovers Mainstream Monday. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got Reverend John Ward here. I guess that's what he looks like to me, my
Hello, my
co-host
son.
here.
Hello, my
Um,
son.
Hello, my father.
I have watched The Conjuring so many times that I am now a priest.
Uh,
I'm ready to do battle.
I think you just had that costume, and you're like, let me fucking put this on.
No, I went out and got ordained and everything.
Oh, let me see your card. Do you have a card?
It's in my pants, which is in
Oh,
the other room. I'm pantsless.
that's what they
So
all say.
that's what all the priests say.
Yeah. Oh God, let's not make priest jokes. Come on here, especially not when you're dressed as one. That seems very tacky.
So
All
the
right.
the nun and Annabelle walk into a bar, and the
Mhm.
priest says,
So, as we can, well, I guess we're going to jump right into it. This season we're going to start off with I don't know how many episodes are going to be, maybe 20 or something, whatever it is
"A
that we're
lot,
going to be able to
yeah,
do. With talking of, we're going to do a James Wanathon. So that sounds fun in itself, like Wanathon.
yes,
And so what we decided, because we're talking about it before, and we're like, what can we do to kind of make it interesting and do sort of, because we did Kevin Williamson stuff and Wes Craven and all that, like connections and stuff. But this is all going to be James Wan movies, starting with the Conjuring universe, where you explain it with the Conjuring universe.
Well, I had the idea of, and I did it where I sat down for a few days and I watched all the Conjuring universe by the dates in the movie. So The Nun is 1952, Annabelle Creation is 1958. So instead of, I didn't want to watch, I didn't, so I got in contact with you because it actually worked. So if you watch them by date, except for The Conjuring, which I'm guessing they didn't expect for it to be so big, there
Mhm.
is a little bit of retconning. But it's I thought it would be fun because we were trying to think of something, is to watch the whole Conjuring universe and a little more, I guess,
Mhm.
um, order by date that the films take place in. So
Right.
that's what we're doing. So the first film that in that order would be The Nun, which is
The
1952.
Nun. So,
So
yeah, I'm excited about this because the Nun, we'll get into the Nun, well, that's a big thing. But also, before we do, you wanted to show off your stuff.
yeah, I like doing that. So this is the it's not it's pretty much everything and except for if we go into other James Wan stuff, I want to save that for later. But I do have a it's a Blu-ray 6 film collection, The Conjuring Universe. So this is it right here.
Mm-hmm.
And it has everything up to this point. So it's got Conjuring 2, Annabelle Creation, Annabelle Comes Home, and then The Nun.
Well, it's got almost everything.
Almost. It is missing 2 films.
Yeah,
And
Curse of
then
La Llorona and the Conjuring 3, right?
Conjuring 3. Yeah. And what's nice about these is that they're all on their individual discs. So they're not like,
Yeah.
6 movies crammed onto 1 or 2 discs. So these look really nice and they have all the special features on them and all that type of stuff. So, and what's good about this universe is that they're all rated R.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Oh.
which because I also watched all the Insidious movies, and which is weird is these feel more PG-13,
Then the
while
Insidious movies?
Insidious is PG-13 but feels more R.
Yeah. And
So
Insidious was one of the first movies that actually in the theater it freaked me out. Like I've seen a lot of movies in the theater, and for some reason the theater experience, because you're out, doesn't really affect me, Like if I'm home alone or something, it freaks me out when I hear noise or whatever. When I'm in the theater, I'm surrounded by people, so I just don't feel like spooked out, you know?
sure, yeah.
But Insidious for some reason just ugh, I bet the Babadook would have done the same thing if I were in the theater because that movie just kind of messed with my mind, a little
Well,
bit.
yeah, because Insidious is much more adult. While this is, even though it's meant to be scary, it's more fantasy.
Hmm.
And Insidious is just downright nasty. I mean, it's mean.
It,
It's
that's
a
sort of
mean
funny
series.
because the Conjuring universe is supposed to be grounded in reality. It's supposed
Yeah,
to
because of
be
the
the
Warrens. So
Warren
yeah.
stories. So, but we'll get into that. Uh, so I guess it started in the thing with the Nun is first. Next would be Annabelle Creation, if I'm correct.
Annabelle, yeah, Annabelle creation,
Oh, let
and
me
then
let me see
actually,
let me see if I can guess this, and then you tell me if I'm wrong, okay? Because I
okay,
think I got this.
let me see
So
where
it's
is it? Okay.
oh yeah, you got it. Okay, so the Nun, Annabelle Creation, Annabelle. Let's see. I want to say it was Conjuring next. And then Conjuring 2. Is that right? Okay,
No,
hold on. If it's not the Conjuring 2, it's got to be Curse of La Llorona.
no.
Annabelle,
Annabelle comes
Annabelle
home.
comes home. Annabelle comes home. I got it. So Annabelle comes home, then the Conjuring 2,
No.
then Curse of La Llorona.
Yes.
Okay. Then Conjuring 2,
Yes.
Conjuring 3,
Yes.
and that's it so far. Um,
Yeah, because the Nun is 1952, Annabelle Creation is 1958, Annabelle is 1970, Conjuring is 1971, Annabelle Comes Home is 1972, Curse of La Llorona is 1973, and then The Conjuring 2 is 1977, and then The Conjuring The Devil Made Me Do It is 1981.
okay. Awesome. Yeah, I'm not that into it yet. I guess by the end of this, I might hopefully be more into it.
You
Like
will
that.
know the whole universe. So yeah,
I'll
because here,
understand because I've
yeah,
seen. So I had not seen The Nun before, and before this review and everything, I had not seen it. And I hadn't seen all of Curse of La Llorona, so those are sort of new to me. Conjuring 2, Conjuring 3, Annabelle Comes Home I've seen once, and I, you know, we'll get into Annabelle when we get into Annabelle, but she's not one of
yeah,
my favorites. Um,
it's a very weird looking doll, that's for
eh,
sure.
that I don't care
So
about because it has to look weird. Because it's got
well,
a
in comparison to what the doll actually looks like, which
well, I
is
mean,
just a Raggedy Ann
right,
doll, they really did it up. So it's well. So this is the Blu-ray then for the Curse of La Llorona, which is nice that it does say for the producers of the Conjuring universe.
right.
So that I think is pretty cool. And then the last one that I have is, and I didn't realize this when I got it. The Conjuring 3, the devil. Oh, they actually put the 3. I never realized that. Yeah, the devil made me do it,
Hmm.
and it's actually from the library. So
Oh,
it's got all the stuff on it. Which is funny is these aren't stickers. This is how it's made. So I can't even take the stickers off if I wanted to.
mm.
See, this
Oh,
is all. If I put my finger over it, it just glides right over it,
oh wow.
and then the it's got the sticker
Wait, you
here.
can't take it off the cover? Like you can't open up the cover and then take it off there?
No, it's all one photo. So it's not like they got this on Blu-ray and then stuck a sticker.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. And I like how it does say this disc will not work in a DVD player, which means I guess they probably had problems with people. You know, no people, this will work in a DVD player
Now
and a
a
DVD will work, but it won't work in a
Yeah,
DVD player.
exactly. DVD will work
So
in a Blu-ray player, but
yeah.
but Blu-ray players, it's the more we get advanced, the less you can actually do shit with other stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's a long time ago when I told a friend, I said, well, you should get a Blu-ray player. And he goes, well, then I won't be able to play my DVDs. And I'm like, no, dude, in a Blu-ray player, you can play Blu-ray and DVD. And he goes silent. And I'm like, are you looking this up? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, why don't you trust me? I own one. Dummy.
it's
So
people, hey man, fake news sometimes. Sometimes you
yeah.
just never know.
But this would normally annoy me, but because I think this is probably the worst out of all the universe, I don't care that it has a library stuff on it. So it's like whatever. It is what it
Yeah,
is.
it's we'll get into that later. That's gonna be one of our last episodes of the, of the Conjuring
Yeah,
universe. Um, so to start with the Nun, uh, I thought it was okay. We, I think we've talked about it personally, about our thoughts and stuff on it, but I it didn't blow me away, like it wasn't a movie that like, most of it felt like a lot of cheap jump scares, and stuff, and I just was not a big fan of that, you
that's what
know.
the Conjuring universe
I
is.
know,
It's all
I
jump
know, I
scares.
know, and I'm not like that's the one thing I'm like, oh shit, I keep forgetting that the Conjuring universe uses way more jump scares than like most other, stuff. Even Insidious has more stuff that's like creepy or eerie, and not
Well,
as many jump scares.
Insidious, the very first thing is a jump scare. Is the
Right.
title comes up, and when it says Insidious, it goes like, "Wah," and and it stays there for like 30 seconds.
That
So like
is
it's
true.
yeah, everybody in the theater must have just been, like, geez, why why is this so loud?
That is hilarious. Um,
But I love James Wan, and I think if his older films had come out now, stuff like Death Sentence and Dead Silence, I think they probably would have done a lot better.
mhm.
Um, I think people need to rewatch those.
But
But
even if they do, I mean, I guess to just to watch them, just to
just
see
little
how good they
gems,
are.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe kind of get some more rentals on them or some more purchases or whatever. I mean, Dead Silence kind of seems to be a precursor to all of this, and then Death Sentence is it's based on the sequel book to Death Wish.
Yeah.
I think Kevin Bacon is actually playing the character that Charles Bronson
Kersey or
plays.
something. But
Yeah,
that was Jack Kersey or something like
Jack
that. That was
Kersey. Yeah, something like that.
the Charles Bronson character that,
Yeah,
he played. Paul Kersey. Paul
Paul Kersey.
Kersey.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that James Wan is just gold. I
He
think that
is.
he's the guy that you want to be attached to. And I would say now, because of The Invisible Man, Lee Wanell, same thing. It is, they're both very successful in their
Yeah.
own right. And I mean, going from Saw to Aquaman, and also, Fast and the Furious, I think what, 7 he did,
Hmm.
or somewhere in there. I mean, that's
I think it was
huge.
7. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course he happens to get the one that has the biggest tragedy. You,
Well,
you
I
know.
mean, obviously not his fault either. So,
No, no,
um,
no. And then he gets Aquaman 2 with,
another tragedy.
yeah, Amber Turd. But
Yeah.
so that, it's just like, man, can't the guy, and I've mentioned this to you before,
But like,
where I think it's a sign of a good director is, even though I disagree with him, he did defend Amber Heard when all the Johnny Depp stuff and her were going on. And to me, that is and it was very low key. Like, it wasn't a lot of news on that. There was just some headlines on some websites that just say director, James Wan defend Amber Heard. And I think that is the sign of a good director, is that you want to stick up and defend your cast and crew,
mhm,
even though I disagree with it. Um, but I think that's the sign of a good director.
right. And the thing with James is like, even if like Aquaman 2 doesn't equal to like Aquaman 3 or whatever, say he leaves the DC universe, he's still got the the all of this stuff that he's doing, because he's not just doing The Conjuring. He's not just doing Insidious and producing Insidious. He's also got like Megan, and he's got all these other things that are not connected, that are their
Right.
own projects that he produces. The man is constantly working, and I absolutely love that. Like, that's one of my favorite things, that I always constantly see him just doing a million things, like James Wan produced this, and to me, he's up there as one of those directors and producers that no matter what he's doing, I want to watch what he's working on.
Yeah. And he's the guy that's on his Facebook account. He's the guy that if you send a message and if you post something, he responds. It's actually him. It's not an assistant.
Yeah,
So I mean, that I really like too. And what's the one with M? Malviolent? Mal, how do you pronounce it?
malevolent.
Mal, thank you. For some reason I have a hard time with that.
It's not
I
an
think
easy thing to say.
no, it's not. And I've tried actually doing it,
Oh no, no,
you
no, no.
know.
That's right. It wasn't a malevolent. Why was I even saying that? It's malignant
Okay, there we go. See, I can't
because
pronounce it, so
it
I don't
was
even
about
know
a
it.
tumor.
Yeah, yeah. So in that one we'll talk about at some other point. But what I want to say on that is I think he basically goofed on Warner Brothers with that. I loved it. But I think that he's like, I am so successful with Warner Brothers. Let me see if I can make this movie. Like it was almost like he was punking them or something. And he made it, and it did well on HBO, and some people liked it, and some people didn't. But
Also,
it's
people compared it very much to Basket Case, which is a great movie, and I got to
yeah.
see it this year. Well, 2022, because this comes out in 23. But 2022, we reviewed Paul and I, for I think it was Patreon only. We did Basket Case, and it was such a weird movie, but it's a similar story.
Oh yeah,
Not the
yeah.
same exact story, but similar.
No, but with the twin, he's
Yeah,
got the twin on the side, and she's got the twin back here.
yeah.
So yeah. I mean, I could see that, and I just think that he with that film, like in the movie, there's the scene where there's the old building that's the hospital, and like one of the, I think the sister or the friend, whoever it is, goes in to find out more information, and she parks her car right on the ledge of the cliff. And I
Hmm.
remember people on Facebook going like, why is she parked so close? And then all these reviews are like, is something going to happen? Like her car is going to fall off or something's going to come up and grab her. Like, why is her car parked literally like an inch from the ledge? And I think it's all a goof. I think that he made this film because he has so much power and his movies make so much money that they just let him do whatever he wanted to,
Hmm.
and I think that's awesome to know that this guy who is literally looks exactly the same today as he did from Saw. I mean, he's like has not changed at
Almost,
all.
God, that was almost 20 years ago, I think. I think that was 2004, I think, or something that Saw came
Yeah,
out.
somewhere right in there. Yeah, and he looks exactly the same. And for a while, I was like, oh no, what about Lee Wanell? Why isn't he doing stuff? And then he did Upgrade, and we all loved Upgrade, which is now being made into a TV series. I think
Is
it's for
it?
Netflix.
I
Yeah,
did not know
that's
that.
what he's. Yeah, he's working on that right now. And
It
and
needed
then
it needed a sequel or a TV series, something, because I was going crazy going, wait, why didn't this get an like automatic sequel? Because I enjoyed
that
Upgrade
may
so
be
much.
why. Yeah,
You know.
I would have liked to have seen a sequel, but maybe the TV show kind of pushed that aside,
Well,
and
yeah,
you
he
know.
got pushed aside because he ended up doing other work. I think he had more Insidious stuff to do, and then he had The Invisible Man. I remember at one point there was going to be an Invisible Woman. So I'm sure he
Yeah,
had
that's
something to
supposed to
do with that.
be Elizabeth Banks was supposed to direct that. I thought that was
Yeah,
like her next
I
thing
think he
after
was going to
Charlie's Angels.
produce and write it, if I'm correct, but I don't know if anything ever happened with that or not. I guess not. You know.
Yeah, I was not the hugest fan of Invisible Man, but man, did it make a buttload of friggin' money.
And
So
I own
that
it.
put
Like
him
I
as
own
A
it on
list.
Blu-ray.
So do I.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't I I didn't love it, like I wanted to love it more because I'm so sick and tired of this what is it? Universal keeping to reboot their monster people. And I was so excited to hear, oh my God, they're not doing an action one like The Mummy. They're doing a horror, they gave it a Blumhouse. This is gonna be great. And they don't have to connect. I don't need to see, Jekyll and Hyde
Right.
I don't need to see that. I was excited to see that, you know, when
I mean,
the Mummy first came out, but
I mean, Invisible Man was beautifully shot. The score is really good. It's well acted. It's well made. I think it's his worst script because he painted himself in a corner with Lee Wanell painted himself in a corner with so much stuff, and that's something else that we could
No,
get into
we'll
to more
probably get to
detail.
that someday.
Yeah, so it's
So we'll
you know
review
I
that.
yeah, so we're just kind of giving everybody like a little overview before we really get into
Yeah,
the
honestly, we'll
nun.
probably
So
talk a lot more about other ones because honestly, The Nun, I don't feel like there's going to be a lot that we can talk about with this one. There
well,
wasn't, you know.
so okay, so I got this up Wikipedia. I always like looking at budgets and how much the film's made and all that stuff. So the budget for the nun is 22 million. It
Okay.
made 365.6 million.
Hmm.
That is a hit.
Right. Which is so funny because everybody's like, "Oh, that was a big flop" or something like that, and I'm like,
Well,
I
and
mean,
you sent me a link to a YouTube review, and then I sent you one. Both, we both did that today, and I did watch both of them. And it's funny is both the reviewers sit there and say, "God, this movie's dark," and I don't mean dark as in like it's Insidious type thing. It's like the photography is dark,
mm-hmm.
and I never saw The Nun in the theater. I did see it when it came out, for like streaming or whatever, and because I heard it was so bad. I didn't want to go see it. And so I waited and then I watched it later. But I'm now when I'm watching it on the Blu-ray, I don't know what they saw. Like maybe the projector in the theater that was showing it was too dark, or maybe they upped the brightness of the Blu-ray
Yeah, I didn't.
because it
I
looks
never thought it was
beautiful.
too dark.
Yeah, it looks great. Look at the picture
But the
behind you.
clips
That's
that they
not dark,
showed did look dark. The clips that they showed in the stuff, like it did
which makes
look.
no sense.
So I think that maybe some scenes, because a lot did take place at night or in a dark area or something. But like, I would rather have that than like a light that's shining, and then you're going, "Where's that light coming from?" Like, like why would there be a light there? That makes absolutely no sense. So I didn't the darkness didn't mind I didn't mind any if it were dark at times, like,
I didn't think it
obvious.
was dark at all. I thought it was
Yeah,
perfect.
even the scene where the guy is in the grave, and stuff.
There, it was bright when it
It
shouldn't
was,
have
yeah,
been.
I could see everything, so it didn't
Yeah,
bother
and,
me.
and that's one of the scenes that I liked too. And I know these one of the reviews at least,
I know the one
that was
I showed you, sent you, did not like that or something.
I,
Did
I
not.
think both reviews,
I
I think,
think.
yeah, they both comment on that it's he falls into it. Of course, we get the foreshadowing, where earlier in the film he tells us why there's bells on there.
Mhm.
And that was actually true. That happened, and there's even Edgar Allan Poe's The Premature Burial is about that. And uh I like that they kind of explain it. So then, okay, something's going to happen with the bell later. And then I like that he goes out and looks at this empty grave. He falls in it. And then when the camera pulls back, it's completely covered, like the grass and moss is on it, like he's been in there for years. And the two guys that were reviewing it criticized that. And I said, no, but that's part of it.
Right,
That's the whole nun ghost, supernatural thing is now nobody would know that he's buried there,
right.
because he's getting too close. He
Yeah.
knows too much.
He knows too much and they got to get rid of him. And instead of just killing
Yeah.
him, they're gonna bury him
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, but it didn't bother me. Like, anytime like stuff like that happens, like people are like, "Oh my God, all of a sudden there's this stuff. Oh, this isn't I don't buy this at all." Like, it's a supernatural story. You can't buy any of it. You can't take this shit seriously.
Well, yeah,
Um,
constantly in these types of movies, you don't know if you're out of it or not.
right.
It's you may think that you're out of it,
Yeah.
and then something catches your eye and you're like, shit, I'm still in it. You know, it
There's
could be a
there's a
dream or
great
whatever.
scene with, how do you say her name? Talisa? The main girl. God damn it, I'm really bad. I'm terrible at names and shit.
The nun, the wannabe nun.
the wannabe nun, the nun in training.
And
Um,
you told me that whose sister's that?
that's Lorraine Warren's sister, whatever the girl that plays her. So Taysa, I guess. Farmiga, who is Vera Farmiga, who is the Lorraine Warren in the series, Conjuring series. That's her. Um, what is it? That's her sister. And so it's
See, I
really
think
interesting.
I think that's cool because they look alike,
Yeah,
and
somebody
I
in
like that.
another review I saw or whatever, it was the review of the Conjuring Universe. They were talking about how it would have been cool if they actually connected them together somehow or whatever. But the problem is because you're playing with a real person, if you gave them a fictional sister or fictional cousin, fictional relative in some way, it wouldn't be, you know what I mean? That person would all of a sudden all the credibility, which a lot of people have said the credibility of Lorraine and Ed Warren are, it's bad already. Yeah.
Oh, it's totally fake. I think
Yeah.
they're con artists. I mean,
Yeah.
I find them to be very entertaining, and I
I
enjoy
do
what they
too.
do.
And
But they are con people. This none of this is real.
and they look
It's
nothing like Vera
no.
Farmiga and Patrick
Patrick Wilson.
Wilson. I wanted to say Wilson. I was like, wait, is that right? Yeah. So she, the scene where she is like kind of doing her thing, you know, in the church, and all of a sudden she's like praying with all the nuns, and then
They
the
come in
the
like
father comes in.
the two rows of nuns that just kind of
Yeah, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh yeah, all these people are helping me out, and there's nobody there. And it goes to that whole thing of like, what's real, what's not real, what's going on in this movie, even the beginning of the movie with the person killing themselves.
yeah, the nun who we think it's suicide, but it's really not. It's so she
Yeah.
doesn't get possessed. I mean, it is suicide to a
Well,
degree,
it's
but
a
it's so she doesn't get
possession that
possessed.
does a suicide to basically. I mean, they're doing like ritual stuff, or whatever they're trying to bring back the nun into, I guess, all this crazy shit. There's so much that happens in this movie, you know. And I think the one thing I didn't like about the movie the most is like I just after a while I couldn't follow along. There was too much shit going on, And
See, I didn't have a problem because maybe I've seen it like three times. I think it's
yeah, I
one of
think
the best
since I only
films
watched it
within the
once,
universe. Yeah.
you know, I couldn't follow along. Maybe it is a movie you need to watch more than once. Problem with movies like that is that somebody like me, or not like me, but somebody's only seen it once. It might be their choice never to watch it again, and so they might just go, "Well, I hated that movie because," and they'd be like, "Oh, you need to watch it again to fully understand." Well, I mean, if you can't get it the first time, sometimes people don't want to go back, you know?
Well, I would like to see a prequel, where with the during World War II, have it be like 10 years earlier and see the bombing, of the because it's a castle. It's not
Mm-hmm.
a church, it's a castle that they're in.
What a
And
quarry though becomes a quarry? Is that what it's called? What's the what was the thing called? The not quarry, but what was the place called? The building, because it was originally a castle, but they turned it into a military thing, right? Or
oh
some.
yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But then because they had the guy that was in there who then started doing, the evil stuff, doing the Satan stuff, and that's why all the nuns are there, is to make sure that doesn't happen again. So, but I would like to see all that type of stuff and see really, because it's supposed to be the nun is the origin story. Well, it really kind of isn't. We need something like 10 years earlier where she's normal and becomes the nun. And then we see the bombings in World War II and all of that type of stuff. Because I don't know what they're going to do with the nun too. I don't know the story for that yet. But while you're looking that up,
Yeah,
I
I'm trying
will
to
say that
figure out what the fucking thing's called.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not. I'm seeing it in my head, but it's not coming out. So it's and while
um,
you're looking stuff up, Patrick Wilson is he's directing Insidious 5,
nice.
which I believe is done. I think it was finished like in
Well, it says
February or
monastery, but that's just the typical nun place to call it. The Vatican. Okay, so it says, all right, I'm gonna give a little bit of the plot or whatever. So this is from Wikipedia, and they usually go into more detail than we normally do. In 1952, Romania, two nuns living at the St. Cartha's Monastery are attacked by an unseen evil force after one of them entered a tunnel to retrieve an ancient Christian relic. The surviving nun, Sister Victoria, flees from the attacker, a demon appearing as a nun, and hangs herself. Her body is discovered by a Frenchie, a villager who transports supplies to the nuns. The Vatican learns of the incident and summons Father Burke to Rome, where they ask him to travel with Sister Irene, a nun in her no, novitiate, I guess. That must mean in training, to Romania in order to investigate the situation. While Sister Irene is teaching children the relationship between religion and science in a school, her Mother Superior interrupts her and informs her that Burke has arrived in order to request Irene's accompaniment in his trip to Romania. The pair travel to Romania and meet with Frenchie, who leads them to the Abbey. The Abbey. That's what I was trying to think of.
okay, yeah, I know,
Um,
yeah, Abby, yeah, that
they
makes sense, yeah.
discover Victoria's body and take a key from the corpse inside the and they encounter the abbess, who informs them that the nuns observe a period of silence during the night and offers them lodging. Oh God, that scene was creepy.
What's
That
that?
that scene where they're walking around the I guess the monastery and they're looking around and everything, and they all of a sudden they see somebody there. And we've seen enough Conjuring movies and everything to know, oh my God, that looks like it might be a ghost. But she says, "Excuse me, nun, miss or mother, blah blah blah." And the lady starts talking to her, and I was like, "Oh God, what is she
Oh,
real?"
the one that's sitting in the chair,
Yeah, I thought she
the
was.
one
I
that
thought she
answers
was
all their
fake. I
questions.
thought she was a ghost, or
She is
whatever.
and she isn't type of thing, because they go to touch her and she's like bones, and then another time there's nothing there. So it is real and it's not real.
So that's so
So
weird.
and
Some
I do
of
have to say I'm not a fan of Frenchie, since Frenchie was brought up a few times. I didn't like Frenchie that
Well,
much. One,
he was
I'm
there just to tie to the first movie, I guess, right? Because wasn't he
yeah,
the
because he's the guy who's possessed
yeah.
that we see. So that does connect the Warrens to the nun,
Hmm.
because they're doing the exorcism on Frenchie.
Yeah, they've
But
actually but
I
go
mean,
ahead.
if they wanted to connect the wannabe nun, the nun in training, to Lorraine, they could, since they both have some sort of gift. The nun in training can see the future, and Lorraine has the gift of seeing ghosts and all that. So they could. I mean, it's all fake. I don't believe a minute of it, because they've already done reports saying that um, that's why the Amityville stuff in Conjuring 2 is so short, because that's the only stuff they had to do with it. But
Mhm.
the stuff that, like, in the actual story in Conjuring 2 that took place in the UK, I read that they barely had anything to do with it. Like, they were consultants. And then the same thing with Conjuring 3. Like, they barely had anything to do with it. They just were
Who?
consultants.
Ed,
The Warrens.
well, I thought Ed had died by then.
It was maybe it was just Lorraine then.
Yeah, because I think Ed had died a while before when did he die? I think he died in 2013, I want to say. I could be completely wrong. Um,
Well, if he died in 2013, then he was on the case, because Conjuring 3 is like 1981.
well, right. Okay, hold on. When did he die? Um, so she died in 2019 and he died in 2006.
They would be involved, and
Yeah,
that's because I watched the documentary on the Conjuring 3, and the case was actually called The Devil Made Me Do It. But in the documentary, they're like, yeah, there's the movie is not what happened. I mean, it is, but without the Warrens. Like they
wait,
were
so the
consulted.
Warrens weren't ever didn't ever have to go to what is it, go to court or anything?
I don't think so. I think that they were just consulted. That was
Oh,
it.
all right.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, if they, even though some of this stuff is based in reality, you could, because the nun was never a story. I don't think if you ever look at the Warrens that they ever had a nun that was torturing them, because this whole thing really is the nun's story.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you watch it in order, except for Conjuring 3, the nun is in every single film
Right.
in one way or another. You know, it could be a picture or a painting or the actual nun.
Exactly.
So it's that's why The Conjuring just a little bit doesn't work in watching it by date, but it still works.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I mean, most of it might not work anyway because all of this is fake, or something. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Like,
you have to look at it as fiction, you
yeah.
know.
So you can't look at it like this is a real story, that this really happened, that this stuff, Like, I hate when they say like based on a true story. I'm like, it's based on a story, yeah, that somebody made up.
Oh
So I'm
yeah,
guessing that's true.
hey,
You know,
Cocaine Bear is based on a true story, and it's
they just
basically just the bear
loosely
did
based on a
eat.
true story.
Yeah, the bear ate a brick of coke, and then he went into the next town and died of a heart attack.
Yeah,
He
not
didn't kill
killing everybody
everybody.
or whatever,
Yeah.
attacking people, but whatever. Anyway, I'm glad you brought that up because we did mention Elizabeth Banks earlier.
Yes.
Um, so to go give a throwback to that. Honestly, so I don't know. Like there was some really cool stuff. I think we've discussed before, together that we both like the scene where the main girl, the Sister Irene, I guess we can call her that. Sister Irene is uses was it the was it the blood of Christ or something?
Oh, the ball that has the blood of Christ in
The
it.
blood of
Yeah.
Christ, yeah, and um to attack the nun, and everything. And I love that because when I heard that stuff in the beginning of the movie, I'm like, they better fucking use that,
Except that
because
it's a little far fetched that she can break it. You know that she's underwater, being basically strangled, and she's able to break it and get it on her mouth and suck out all the blood. And then when she puts her head up, she spits it all on the nun, and then
mm,
the nun goes crazy. So it's like you're underwater. You know that the blood's probably ruined. It's probably gone. You know, it just
yeah.
go into the thing. So, but okay, fine, whatever. I
It's
mean,
still a
it
cool scene. Like that's
yeah.
literally why they did stuff like that. Sometimes, like, we've got our buddy Paul who will watch something like that and be like, "Oh, that's bullcrap. I don't like this movie because all of this stuff is, bullcrap and everything." I look at it like you have to just suspend your disbelief when you're watching this movie. You gotta just like, you know what, this movie's going there. I like it. Let it go there. I mean, like I said, it's got plot holes, it's got issues. I mean, it's not my favorite of the Conjuring movies, I don't think. I mean, I don't, and I guarantee you it'll be one of my least favorite,
Yeah, I
of it.
mean,
But it's
you
not
just have to
terrible.
like this type of stuff.
Hmm?
No, it's not. It's not. No, I think it's one of the better ones, and you just have to like this type of thing because there's the big budget Conjuring movies where people get thrown across the room and they're up against the wall and all the furniture's hitting them and there's wind and the windows are ripping open, and or you can go for low budget where it is just like a door creaking, or maybe like a
Hmm.
chair falls over, and it just depends, I think, on what you like.
And
If you like spectacle or not.
I mean, I did like, and they did this in Conjuring too, so this wasn't original for the nun, but the what is it, the cross turning upside down and everything.
Which is in a few of the films. So
Yeah.
it's in the Nun. It's at the very beginning before the one nun, kills herself, puts the noose on her neck. Is the crucifix or the cross goes upside down. It's in Conjuring 2. I think it's also in Annabelle Creation, but nobody sees it. We see it as the audience, but I don't think anybody else does. So
Okay.
so it's
I don't
kind of a
like it. I
reoccurring
don't like
thing.
that then because I always thought that made that maybe the nun was doing that, you know? Does that mean the nun was doing that to the in the Annabelle?
No, I think it's just evil.
It's just
Just
evil.
yeah. I mean, you've seen it before. I mean, it's Amityville, and a lot of those will all of a sudden turn the cross. So cross will look normal, and then the character looks back and it's upside down.
Right.
Or it falls off the wall and lands upside down, something like that. So I think it's a trope, like a trope that they do. So it's, but I don't know. I don't know why people hate the nun. I really don't. I mean,
I
people
mean, I
do
don't
dress
hate it.
up
I
as
just
her.
it's not
Is
my,
No, you like it. You think it's okay. But a
I
lot
think
of
it's
people
okay. I mean,
seriously hate this movie.
it's not something I want to always like. I'm probably gonna revisit it again. I'm probably gonna buy it eventually on a big, one of your kind of things. I'm gonna wait till they get, and I think they've got the 8 pack, and I could probably buy that at some point for Blu-rays. Um, Interestingly enough, I don't really need these movies on like 4K, you know? Like I don't think upgrading it to 4K will make much difference of things
Sure.
for me personally. But I don't know if it's a little bit more expensive, just a little bit more to get it on 4K, I might do that, but probably prefer to have it on
I
just on
mean,
Blu-ray.
you're a 4K guy, so would it still come in the package like what I have, or would you have to buy it individually?
Maybe I don't know. Some of them do they have 4K? They have some 4K packages, right? Like the X-Men movies are in a 4K package, or Spider-Man, like Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies are all three of them are in a 4K package together,
Okay.
you know. So some of them do. I don't know if they would. Because I honestly, what's sad is like horror doesn't get much 4K love, as much as like action films do, or even some comedies do. But I
Which is unfair because a lot of horror films and science fiction movies and stuff look beautiful. I mean,
they
they
do
they
look
they look
beautiful, and
great.
they have a lot of action too that
Yeah.
could
Well,
help
I
that.
mean, especially these. I mean, these are all, these are made by professionals. These are made by people who love this type of stuff.
Hmm.
So it looks good and it sounds good and it's well edited, and you know, if you don't like the story or whatever, that's different. But as far as it technically being done, it's they look really good. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I think the Nun, it looks great, it sounds great, it's well edited. I love that it's a real castle. I love that they actually went to Romania to shoot this thing. They actually said that they were, because there's a little documentary that they said that it's actually in Transylvania, and that the cemetery that they walk through is like a real cemetery, but it's not close to the castle. It's like in a different section. I think they went to 3 different locations for it, so it's all practical. I mean, it looks really good. I like the nun. I don't have any problem with her. Um,
Oh,
People
the nun
seem,
was cool looking. I liked her.
yeah. I mean, people dress up as the nun for Halloween,
Yeah,
so
it's a
there has to
good
be something
cosplay.
iconic about it. Yeah.
I mean,
So
she's sort of and she's kind of creepy, like she's like staring at you from afar, and everything. I don't know what the fascination with nuns is, like period to because okay, so the studio that we shoot our indie film cafe stuff at, there's a bunch of nuns that walk down the street. It's kind of creepy because I'm like, where are they coming from? Is there a monastery like in Fort Monroe or something? Probably, you know, or maybe there's not. Maybe those are ghost nuns that are just walking every day. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
They were
kind of
hit by a
creepy now to think
bus and
about
now
it.
they just continuously walk over
I
and
should
over and over.
I should pull over and be like, "Are you guys real, or am I just seeing shit?"
Well,
You know?
that's why you take something that is supposed to be innocent, like a nun being holy and and all that is supposed to be good. It's supposed to be innocent, and then you like a clown. A clown is meant to be innocent and fun, and kids are supposed to love it, and then you creep it up. So it's
Well,
not, a nun is boring, but the nun is not boring. So that's, it's kind of like when Superman becomes evil. It's just you're taking something that is so American and so wholesome that you're corrupting it and making it evil, that we become kind of fascinated with this stuff. At least that's how I feel.
I kind of agree, but I always like see nuns in movies and everything where they're slapping the people's hands and they're
Oh,
they're
they're
with a
mean.
ruler
Yeah.
and they're being nasty to the people, and I'm like, I mean, I think they would get more people to like, follow their instructions if they're a little bit nicer to them. But
No,
that's
because that's the caning thing. I mean, it's in the Bible. I mean, that's what they, that's what you're supposed to do is, you're either supposed to use like the stick, like the tree limb, like the little branch, or a ruler or something like that. I mean, it's it's supposed to be, which then makes people rebel. And then there's the other sides, that the reason why women become nuns is that they're lesbians, and guys become priests is because they're gay or they're child molesters, and they don't want people to know it. So there's all this different stuff with
that
religion
sounds
and
like it could
nuns.
be its
And
own little movie right there. The
yeah,
lesbian and the child molester movie.
I
One's a
don't know if
nun,
I'd want
one's
to
a
watch it, but I mean, there's definitely enough documentaries out there, like what is it, the god, the evil that dwells in us, the evil shit. There's another horror film that has the same title, The Devil, but it's a documentary about a priest who molests children in like 10 different churches. And the
oh.
church would just move him from church to church to church. And then he just molest all the kids, and then they'd be like, crap. So then they would move into another church. I think it's called like Deliver Us from Evil, I think is it. But then there
Well, there
was
is a movie called Deliver Us from Evil, but that's
okay,
not
then that is the title of it.
it's
Yeah. I
not
know
a
there's
documentary though.
no, it's that one is like a possession thing, but
Yeah.
it's got the same title. So
Okay.
it's I think it's just taking something that's supposed to be innocent and pure and completely corrupting it, and that's why people find clowns and nuns scary and stuff.
Clowns. I don't know, man. My niece is scared of clowns. I personally like laugh at clowns because they're just, even the creepy looking clowns like fucking Pennywise. I'm just like, it's a clown, like how can I find this terrifying? I mean, if granted, if Pennywise came up to me and started to like, try to attack me, yes, I'd be terrified of him. But like, okay, I'll to give you this as an example. This was the funniest thing, and I got to put it into a movie someday. But there was one of my friends told me, and I'm not going to mention who because, whatever. But one of my friends told me that she was looking out the window of her house, and a clown was walking, I guess a party clown, whatever, trying to find the house that they had to go to for the party, right? So they're walking by her house, and the clown looks up at her like that, right? When she's looking down outside the window, and she was freaked out. Like she ran. She does not like clowns anyway. She ran, and I was like, that's a great scene in a movie. Probably been done a million times in some way or another, but just imagine that dude was just a party clown that was just going someplace, and now she just made her like have the creepiest horror story ever, you know?
Well, a friend of mine had a similar experience. Is she was in her car at a stoplight, and all of a sudden on the other side, a car pulled up, and she looked over, and it was a guy in the whole clown thing, and like the 5 o'clock shadow. He had a cigarette just hanging out of his mouth, and he just looked over at her like he just wanted to fucking kill himself or her. And she just under her breath, just in the light turned green, and under her breath, she just went, "Fuck you, clown." because this guy just looked burnt. He just looked miserable and everything. And I wanted to put that into a film because that
Yeah,
image of just looking over and seeing
could
just
be the
some
same
clown
clown. We
that's
could do the combine
yeah.
our stories together. It could be the poor clown, man, just bad time, right? All these people are just like, fuck you, clown.
But now
Um,
imagine if that's a priest or a nun, in the car, or
no,
the
because
nun walked at
okay,
her and just kind of
so
looked at her scary.
you don't really get that. Now nuns maybe now if they look creepy, you know, like the nun in this movie, but nuns, if you just see a nun walking down the street like I do, I don't think, oh my God, that's terrifying. I don't think anybody goes, oh my God, that's terrifying. But you put a nun and like makeup and make her scary looking, people go, oh my God, that's terrifying, you know. Uh, priests, I, I don't, I've never seen anybody be afraid of a priest, except maybe little kids. Like,
Yes, the little kids should be scared.
they should be
Well,
scared.
the woman who plays the nun actually looks like that. She's
Right.
interviewed. She actually looks like that. That's not a lot of makeup on her. That's how
Yeah,
she
and
looks.
I think they did that on purpose. Like I think they picked her because that's what she,
Yeah. She has a
and
very unusual face. Yeah,
right.
it's not typical looking. So,
And good for her because I mean, you know what? You're getting some good roles there.
oh
Especially
yeah.
constantly working, doing this stuff. So they've got the Nun 2, man. Nun 2 is getting made.
I'm looking forward to that and
That's coming
Insidious
out
5.
this year,
So,
which would be 2023, but it's coming out this
yeah.
year. So
Well,
at the end of the year.
and I still hope, my fingers are crossed for the Insidious Sinister combination that they want to do. They want to merge the two franchises together because I guess they're
Sinidious,
yeah, it's supposed to be something like that. Yeah, like in Sinister or something
and
like that.
Oh
Yeah,
God, I don't like
that
that.
it's
And
like a
Sinister,
combination
that
of the two
sounds
worlds.
terrible.
So
Um,
I guess they're both Sony. So I think that would be pretty cool is if they did that, because I liked Sinister. I liked both films. And Sinister's very creepy. I mean, when we
well, it's also
get to
Blumhouse,
that,
right? Both of them are Blumhouse. Blumhouse produced
yeah,
Insidious, so
yeah.
yeah, which is great, because and without Blumhouse, James Wan wouldn't have had the Conjuring universe and all that stuff. Really, they took a chance on both of those guys, on James and Lee, and said, make this movie for, I think it was only like 1 million or 2 million or something. It was really cheap, to make the movie. And they shot Insidious, and it was a hit, you know, and then
Oh, yeah, Insidious was very low budget for
yeah.
that type of
Well,
movie.
see,
Yeah,
that's the
each
beauty.
one
Like, you
increased, but
independent filmmakers got to realize, like, I mean, I hate to say this though, and this is going to probably cause a lot of issues with the indie film world. Considering I do indie film cafe, I appreciate low budget movies. But if you don't make a movie for $1 million, $2 million, you know, at least or whatever, you know, there's not really much of a return on investment, because nobody buys $20,000 movies and then pays you $80,000 for them anymore. It doesn't happen anymore. It's not like the old days, But if you make $1 million movie and they put like 2 million in marketing and everything, like, you know, uh, I want to say like Paranormal Activity was 20,000, but it doesn't happen like that anymore. Like that was a fluke, and thankfully a fluke
I
because
I think it still can. I think it's because if you look at something like Insidious, the first one, and then I guess the ones after it,
but those are all
is
over $1 million.
right. But it's what did they what did they use? So basically, when they go into the netherworld, when Patrick Wilson tries to go find his son, and I love that he's in both franchises, that it's just the house.
Right.
Like it's maybe they put a door in or they'll put a window in or something like that because it's from like the kid's dream. But how do you cut down your budget when your budget is so low? So let's say Insidious was 2 million or 3 million, whatever it was. it was still very small. So what do? You grab a smoke machine, you smoke up the living room, you make it dark, you throw up some different colored lights, and now you're in another world.
But so
So
I'm glad that they did Insidious, because then it led to The Conjuring and all this other stuff that James Wan is doing, because he showed that not only could he make a creepy movie, but he could make a creepy movie that was directed very freaking well. I mean, I'm gonna say this and say like James Wan is the new Alfred Hitchcock or whatever, Orson Welles, one of those directors who has made really good fucking movies over the years because of the um camera angles and different shots and stuff. Um the Nun was not directed by James Wan, and I honestly
no.
I did not find anything really neat or cool or whatever in the movie that really stood out. But I'm kind of glad that they didn't go the we're gonna copy James and make, cool shots
Yeah, I
like
mean,
that.
yeah, the director really hadn't done anything. I mean, he is doing the Nun too, but it's he really hadn't done anything before this.
Right.
So I thought that looked great. And yeah, I'm glad that he didn't just copy James Wan. I mean, even Lee Wanell doesn't copy James Wan. So he's definitely got his own style, especially after Upgrade. So it's nice that these guys are different and they seem to give people opportunities.
Yep.
So where something like Insidious, I think it was like 1 and 2 is James Wan, and then like 3 is Lee Wanell, and then 4 is somebody I've never heard of. And now they're giving Patrick Wilson the chance to do part 5. So it's I think that's
Well,
great. Good.
I honestly think that's sort of like films have sort of become TV and TV has sort of become film, in a way. It sounds weird to say that, but like when you look at the franchises of like these movies and everything, there's a different director that might take over, a lot of times it's been James directing them, but like say somebody else might take over. Somebody else might direct Curse of La Llorona, someone else might whatever, and they all have different, sometimes they have different writers. Most of the time they do. Gary Dauberman, I believe, was the one who wrote this one. Yeah, Gary Dauberman, who I love this dude, man. I was so upset. He was supposed to be direct or writing a I don't know if he's going to direct it or whatever. But he's going to be writing the Are You Afraid of the Dark movie? And before they decided that they were just going to keep making TV shows that had nothing to do with Are You Afraid of Don't give me that's a whole nother podcast on with somebody else, because I'm sure you have no idea what I'm talking about.
I
But
know what you're talking about, but I've never seen any of them.
yeah. Are You Afraid of the Dark is one of my favorite shows growing up. So like they created TV shows and they just don't, to me, they don't have the spirit of it, which I sound terrible for saying that because I still watch them, and I still respect that they're getting out there. I'm just upset, whatever. But that's maybe a little I don't know, maybe bitterness that they
Well,
never
I mean,
asked me.
speaking of different directors, I mean, it's at the time you and I talked, and I had not seen The Curse of La Roma, and
Mm.
I think that was the only one I hadn't seen. But I did see Conjuring 3, which is the same director, and it is boring as fuck, and it is the only one that I really look at as a Hollywood movie. It really feels like
Which one?
the Conjuring 3.
Okay, but Curse of La Llorona,
I thought it
um,
was well done. I liked it. Once again, I don't know why everybody hated it. I thought it was good. So then when I heard that he's doing something. Is he doing the Nun too? Not the guy who did the
no,
Nun.
no, it's the same guy who did the Nun is doing the Nun too.
Okay, but then
Um,
this director is doing something else that's Conjuring related, and we went, "Oh, great, give it to the guy who made the worst ones."
um, he did the Conjuring, the Devil Made Me Do It. Oh, he is directing the Nun too.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so there's a 50-50 chance that it's going to be bad. I mean, it
Okay.
really felt like a TV movie to me, and it did not feel interesting enough to be a Conjuring film. But yet he did a good job on The Curse of La Llorona. So I don't know. So it's 50-50 on that one.
I'm kind of excited for The Nun 2 because it's written by the girl who co-wrote or I think or wrote the Malignant. So that's going to be exciting.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, if you like that film, that was another 50-50, I think, with people that some liked it and some didn't. So
Okay, yeah, I guess I thought I saw that he was the same director was doing The Nun 2. Um Sadly he didn't get the chance to do that, but he has got 5 movies in development right now that he's directing.
oh geez.
One's called Arcane, one's called Abominable, which I'm guessing is about the Abominable Snowman. Again, which I don't like that title. I think they should change it because there's already like 3 or 4 Abominable
Yeah,
movies.
there's a
So
lot of
like
them.
just change it, change the title. There's another movie called Hellbent. Another one called Every House is Haunted. That sounds fun. And a Mr. Coop is the last.
I mean, I would probably give him, The Crooked Man, which was supposed to be made, but they never
Yeah,
made
they're
it.
in development of it, but they have no director attached. So if you want to call one of us over to direct it, Mr. Wan, we will
Yeah.
gladly do that. I don't, what do you need to do to be a director of these movies? Like, do you need to just do one movie that gets attention or something? I think that's it. You do a
It's
movie that gets some sort of attention that,
well, a lot of people have criticized studios for picking it can be a male or female director, it doesn't matter, who had done an independent film. It could be about gypsies that live in the desert, but it did really well independently and was like, you know, got good critic reviews. And then they go, oh, okay, well, let's have that person who made this film for less than $1 million. We'll give them now a $30 million film.
mhm.
And that's how a lot of these people do it, and they normally fail. Or it's just lackluster and not boring because they just don't really know what you're doing. So I
Well,
would probably say, yeah, you have to make a really great independent film and kind of fall into it, or James Wan and he gives you that opportunity, or you have a really good agent or
sometimes it's
manager.
shorts. Weirdly enough, sometimes it's shorts. Um, the guy who made Lights Out, you know,
That was a
um,
short, yeah,
that was a short originally,
and
and
that
then
was good. I
yeah,
told you, I messaged you and said this should be part of the Conjuring universe. It is a Conjuring universe movie, even though it's not.
was
They
it
really
Lorraine and
no.
Warren? So I guess that would be the connection because Curse of La Llorona uh was that the Warrens story or anything?
The no, the Warrens aren't in it. It's a cop or like a detective that was in one of the other films is in
Okay,
this one, so that's the link to the universe.
okay, all
So it,
right.
it is part of that. But yeah, Lights Out definitely. I forgot about that. Yeah, that definitely was a great movie.
But
It
see, that
really should
started
be
out as a
part of that.
short. Somebody made a short. It was scary and freaky and whatever, and so they expanded into a
It's
feature,
on YouTube.
you know. Right, yeah, I've seen it years ago. I saw it because I rented the movie or something, and it was on the DVD. So back when I rented movies, I don't rent movies
Yeah.
now, just buy
What
them.
is that these days?
Like 'cause people still do Netflix. I don't know why. Like one of my friends actually still gets Netflix rentals and stuff. And I'm just like, okay. But G. Larry Butler still does that, and stuff. So
That's
I'm like,
old
hey, I
school, I
mean,
guess. So,
whatever makes you happy. I'm
yeah,
not dissing on it. I'm just saying I'm surprised because to me, it's almost like we don't do that in our house. We just have streaming, and everything. And if we can't find something streaming, we can rent it, online or something, or
sure.
whatever, or buy it on eBay, like I do for all my shit now, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, something else that's on YouTube is there was a contest for The Conjuring, and there's like I think it's like 4 or 5 short films that are supposed to kind of be connected to the Conjuring universe. Like people made short films, and these were the ones that won. So I
Hmm.
guess that's on YouTube. Like if you the Conjuring contest or short films or something, they pop up. So
Nice.
there's more stuff out there to to look at. So
Well, I I think we're approaching that time. We're trying to keep these at an hour, close, maybe a little after an hour, but not like not going to like 3 hours
No, I
talking
think I
about
think
this
an
because
hour is good. It's
after a
solid.
while it becomes sort of redundant and or we're just arguing about other shit that had nothing to do with the universe and stuff. And we still kind of did that, but kind of
Not really, but
we kind of came back.
every
We kind
once
of
in a
stayed on
while we're
topic.
gonna, yeah,
All right, so let's talk about our like basically we do a 5-star rating, right, on this
yeah.
on these. And so what would be your five like star rating for The Conjuring?
I would
No,
give it
The
like
Conjuring, The Nun, The Nun.
the Nun. I give it like 4 out of 5.
All right. I gave it a 2.5 on what is it on my letterbox. I think I might go up to a 3 in my mind, in my head, but like aside from that, not much more. But I said, yeah, in this review I did, it's like not my favorite of the Conjuring universe, but also not my least favorite either. The movie has some fun to it, but overall it was kind of dull. It was kind of dull. There was moments
I
where I was
did
just
not
kind of
find it dull.
bored
Yeah.
by it a little bit. The three leads were great though, which you don't like Frenchie, but I do. I thought
The
he
actor
brought
is
a
fine in
comedic
everything,
element to it that I sort of felt was kind of he was sort of like the audience that
but
wasn't a didn't have anything to do with Catholic stuff or
he
whatever.
just, I don't, I thought that his comedy at certain points was inappropriate. I did not think that at one point, like he says something like, I forget the exact scene, but the priest is there in the nun in training, and he goes like, "Holy shit!" And the priest goes, "Yes, holy." And I'm like,
Hmm.
why? One, why are you swearing in front of those two people? And two, it's like the joke wasn't even funny, and I just don't. And I'm just so tired of just, why does every guy have to hit on somebody and be a scumbag? Like, can we just maybe have a movie where Frenchie doesn't hit on a wannabe nun? Can he maybe just be nice
Can
and
she
just
not
take
be
them up?
cute? Like I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe,
Um,
I mean, I have a lot of women that come into my office, and I'm not hitting on every single one of them. I don't hit on any of them. So, I walk them to take a look at storage units and all that. I don't. I mean, it just seems like, and this is where men get a bad rap. It's like, for some reason they have to portray us as hitting on every single thing out there,
I think
and
that
that annoyed me with it.
certain
So
characters would do that, and I feel like Frenchie would do that.
I didn't like it. I did not like it. I thought, yeah,
I like, hey, your
yeah.
opinion, and
Yeah.
everything. That's so I said maybe I expected more than a bunch of cheap jump scares, which I did. There was a lot of those. I only recommend for people interested in the backstory of the nun. To the casual moviegoer, I'd say skip it. That's me. Now you say see it, please. And I do actually, I should probably not put skip it, period, after any movie, because honestly, if you want to see the movie, go ahead and see it. If you're
But I
interested.
but I would say see it if you're a fan of the Conjuring universe or James
Right,
Wan, or you like these types of movies, because since we're watching them in a particular order, it starts with the Warrens, I believe, and then it ends with the Warrens to get them into the movie, or at
right,
least it ends with the Warrens. And so if the casual person who hasn't seen any of these takes my recommendation to go see it, they're not going to understand it.
right.
It doesn't make sense. You need to know the universe. So I would either say start with The Conjuring and go through all of them as they came out, then go back and watch them as the dates, like the actual timeline.
It is interesting to sort of see a Marvel universe in horror, like
Yeah.
see a lot of people give Marvel a lot of crap, especially now because there's a lot. I get it. Phase four, not the
Oh,
best
wow.
phase of all time. And
We are going
that's
to
a
be
whole nother,
discussing that
that
next
is a
month.
whole nother topic for a whole nother show that we will eventually probably do someday. But for now, I'm just going to say that it did do one thing, which was introduce the idea of cinematic universes as a more path, you know, like a more this can happen because this is what you need to do to make the, you know what I mean? like a guideline, because then people just look at Iron Man and see, okay, Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, all these things led up. Okay, we could do prequels, we could do, you know what I mean? Like the ideas are like endless at that point. But and it sort of helped. I mean, of course, people can go back to like uh Kevin Smith had his Views universe before Marvel, like, well, kind of modeled after the comic world of Marvel, idea that, uh that's what Kevin
But
Smith
his
says.
films are in order though.
Yeah, are they?
Yeah, I mean Clerks and then Mallrats and then Chasing Amy and then they're in order. Yeah, but they are part of a whole universe. There's something like Marvel and I think the Conjuring universe. You have to be careful, especially if that's the idea. Now, obviously, Marvel knew from the beginning it was going to be a universe. I don't
Technically,
think.
they're not in order. To be in order, it'd have to be Mallrats, then Clerks, then Chasing Amy.
Oh yeah, they talk about the death and all that.
Yeah,
Okay,
because of the death of Julie Dwyer.
yeah,
See,
yeah,
I mean, I know way too much about Kevin Smith's
yeah.
movies.
But
It's
you
scary.
you still have to be careful though, because like I said, when you have something like Marvel where they started it knowing that there would be a universe, I don't think The Conjuring knew it was going to be a
Yeah, it didn't
universe.
know. And I think,
So you
yeah,
continuity wise, you have to be careful.
you have to sort of. I feel like if you're really going to make a universe, but see, the thing is, they didn't know. They just made the first movie hoping it would be a success. If the first movie hadn't been a success, had been a bomb, they wouldn't have done anything. Like they wouldn't have had spin-offs and they wouldn't have had prequels and all these other things because it just wouldn't have been, nobody would have cared, you know?
Right.
And so thankfully the first one was a success. Nowadays, studios do really look at that because the first Conjuring was made in 2010 or so, I think, if I'm correct. Was it 2000 or 13? Was it 13? When was the first one? Because no, I think
Uh,
Insidious was 2010. So Conjuring was 2013, if I'm correct. Yeah, 2013. So the first movie came out. They sort of understood like Marvel was getting more and more out there at that point, you know? And so maybe they started to really like, play along with
well,
it
I
or
think
whatever after a
Annabelle had
while.
a lot to do with it. I don't think I don't necessarily think The Conjuring itself scared. I think it was Annabelle. I think people were
Right.
so curious about Annabelle that that's when they go. That's when they said, okay, well, we need to make a movie with Annabelle because everybody's talking about Annabelle.
Hmm.
You know,
There you go.
so yeah,
Well, thank you, John. We will be
of
doing
course, thank you.
a show it'll be every week, every Monday, up until I think episode 20 or something, then we'll be taking a break and then we might be back with 20 more movies
Yeah,
or something like that. We're we're gonna be doing a lot this year.
yeah. I guess it depends on if we get tired of or burnt out on James Wan because then there's everything past the supernatural stuff. So,
Yeah.
it just
There's a
depends.
lot to do, so we're gonna sit back. But the first 8 episodes or whatever are gonna be the Conjuring universe, and then
Yeah.
after that, we'll see. We
Yeah.
won't announce what we're doing because I don't think
Yeah.
we're just gonna kind of wing it, as it
See how we
goes
feel.
and
Yeah.
figure it out. I mean, we have sort of a plan, but we'll sort of maybe. I mean, if there's something else we want to do, like that's James Wan, centric, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So. Thank you guys for checking this out. Join us next week for a brand new episode. Till then,
Bye, everybody.
everybody, bye.
Bye.